really quick. If you guys see me toggle between screens like this, is I'm just trying to make sure that everyone's on the call and I'm letting everyone in. Um, so don't think that you lost connection or something like that. But we're gonna go over the volume lashing today. I'm not gonna go deep dive because I'm not someone to read everything verbatim. That's just not my style of teaching. But I'll jump around. These decks, any decks that myself or Miss Cynthia or Monica go over, they're all in your Google Drive, in your Google. Okay. So if you need to go over it again, or if you have any questions, you can just go in there and reference the material. So volume lashing, is anyone familiar with volume lashing? Yeah, okay. So volume lashing basically, let me go through this just a little bit. So we're going to go over a little bit of the history of volume lashes. We're going to go over the weight, and that word is always tricky for me to say because my English wants to kick in and go diameter and read like the way it's spelled, but diameter. There we go. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about handmade versus pre-made fans, okay, and the adhesive and the fanning techniques. And I'll do a quick demo while we're here. So basically, volume lashing. Last week, you guys learned about classic lashing, right? Classic lashing is just using one extension per every natural lash. With volume lashing, it's going to be anything that's 2 or more, okay? Now we want to talk about, do you guys know when you're looking at a tray? Yeah. Now, do you ladies know that when you're looking at a tray, what is it that we look on a tray to tell the difference between a volume lash versus a classic lash? Do you guys know?
The diameter.
The diameter, that's right, that's on the box. So a 0.15 is what we would use for classic lashing. Anything that's a 0.7, a 0.5, and there's so many more. There's 0.3, then there's 0.4. Those would be considered for volume lashing. Why? Because they're lighter, so they're thinner, okay? And that's and this tells you a little bit of the history of volume lashing, the volume, Russian volume, oh my God, the Russian volume lashes are named after the Russian master lash stylist who invented the technique, Olga. I don't want to kill that last name, so it's right there. But that basically just tells you a little bit about applying 2Ds and 6Ds. And anytime you see that 2D, 3D, 4D, that means the amount of lashes that you're grabbing. So if you do, let's say, a 0.5, okay, and you grab 2 of those 0.5s, you're doing 2D. If you're grabbing 3 of those 0.5s, you're doing 3D, and so on, okay? So volume lashes, kind of went over this. We measured the depth of a fan in Ds, which is the 4D, 3D, 6D, how I mentioned to you guys. Classic versus volume application. Classic lashes is 1 extension per natural lash. Volume is you fanning them out and it being anything 2D. Again, because they're lighter lashes, you're able to use more for the volume. Now, there are a whole bunch of different types of lash styles out there. I know now there was recently, at least in my vision, it just recently came out, which is like the anime lashes. I don't know if you guys have seen those. So that's another style. But the majority people either use classic, volume, or hybrid. And I'll be honest, it's mostly volume and hybrid. A lot of people are weaning off of classic and really doing still volume, but at a 2D, a lighter weight, because it still gives them that little fullness. Or like, I don't know if you guys heard of the wet lash look, which is using the volume lashing style. So you're still using a 2D, 3D, you're grabbing a couple of those, not fanning them out, and they look like classic lashing. They just look a little bit more bold. Classic lashing is really good for someone who already has a lot of lashes, that all you're going to do is add some curl to it. And, because they already have that fullness, all you're going to do is add your classic lashes to just make it longer and curlier, if they want it longer. Because you don't want to do classic on someone who has sparse lashes, because it'll be gappy, okay? Then you would, if anything, jump into a hybrid style. Now, hybrid, we'll learn that next week. Hybrid is basically using the mix of both classic and volume. A lot of people, the way they teach it, and you'll see it out there, is 50-50, 50 classic, 50 volume, right? I'll be honest, anytime I've done hybrid, I don't sit there and count 50-50, okay? Because if I see that my client has a gap, I'm going to add more volume. If I feel that they need more volume to give them that more oomph, more fullness, I'm going to add a little bit more volume than classic, okay? So what I want to make sure that all of you ladies know is that at the end of the day, we teach you the fundamentals on passing the test, right? Doing the exams and all that stuff. But you also, of course, with taking care of your client's lashes, need to make that executive decision when you're lashing what your client wants and what your client needs as well. So you want to hear them and see what it is that they're looking for. And when you're applying lashes, you have to kind of make sure that you're keeping their natural lashes in good health, but applying what you need when. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Okay. Let me jump real quick, make sure anyone needs to come in. Okay. So the diameter of lashes for volume range from 0.3 to 0.7. The larger the diameter or thickness, the heavier the lash extension. Commonly used thickness, diameter, and volume lashing is a 0.5 and a 0.7. Usually you'll see when you use a 0.3s when you're doing those mega volumes, because you can just grab a whole bunch and apply it, okay? This is good to have. So when you get a chance, either screenshot it from your phone, or you have it in your Google Classroom to reference it. But this basically tells you if you use a 0.20 lash extension, that's going to equal the same as 3 0.7s. So if you see right here on this bottom, on the bottom left side, you'll see where it has everything on there. So the grams for a 0.3, how many grams is a 0.5, and so on. I'll be honest, those grams throw me off. I just remember what I could use on each lash. So with each one, so like a 0.10, the max you want to use is 2, and really not even, because a 0.10 I still usually just use 1. If I'm gonna use a 0.7, then you know how many you could use, which is usually 3, and so on. This basically gives you another summary of what you can use. So 0.3, you could use 25 extensions. So you can grab pretty much 25, okay? Do you sit there and really count each one? No, because you would be there all day. But you kind of, once you get the habit of it, you can kind of eyeball what 25 looks like. If you're one over
like 4
2,
people on this call.
I'm sorry? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. I had to log back in and I forgot to mute my mic.
Oh, okay. You're good. If you missed anything, I'll upload the recording later, okay? And you can just reference
Yes, ma'am.
back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this is really good to have, even if it's on your phone, hearted, so it could be under your favorites. And this way, if you kind of forget what it is that how many you can put, then you go ahead and you can reference this. Because what I would want for you to do this week in particular is really work on your 0.7s. If you have it in your kit, work on your 0.7s and just kind of practice on just pulling 2, 3, 4. Just practice first pulling a little bit when you're learning how to do volumes, because if you bombard yourself and start trying to do 0.3s, 25, your fans are going to fall really quick and you're going to get frustrated, because you got to get into the habit of learning how to grab them and how to pull, okay? Same thing here. So this kind of gives you a visual of the weight. I know it's cut off on the side, but basically you can see for the 7 millimeter, you can use, for 0.12s, you can use 3, 0.10s, you can use 2, 0.15. Am I looking at this wrong? Because at 0.15, you shouldn't use 4. I'll need to cover back with I need to circle back on this, because I know the 0.7s. Yeah, 7 millimeters, 0.15 up there. I don't know, that's kind of confusing. So I would say really reference this top one, and I'm gonna circle back on that deck and see what exactly, because this one's a little bit more confusing. So I would just follow this. This one's a lot easier. 0.3, 25, 0.5, 90s, okay? So this also basically gives you another visual. So no one really uses 0.20s, 0.25, and 0.30 anymore. those diameters were used back. Okay, that's why back in the days the lashes felt heavier, more fake, because they were heavier. They were heavier lashes. You would use a 0.30. That's super heavy for a natural lash. Normally, what you would use for classics is a 0.10, 0.12, 0.15, 0.18. 0.18 is a good one to have handy just in case you get someone who has a lot of lashes and they have healthy lashes. You can add a 0.18. Okay. 0.7, 0.6, 0.5 volume, 0.3, 0.4 mega volume. Okay. Handmade versus pre-made. Does anyone know what handmade versus pre-made is? Tell me. Someone tell me.
Handmade, like by hand, when you buy.
Right. So they're basically, you're pretty much pre-making them. So pre-made is you're pretty much, oh my God, what's the other one? No, there's another word. My mind went blank. But pretty much the pre-mades, you're hand making them ahead of time. Okay. And then your handmade, you're doing it right there and then. If you pre-make your fans, okay, you have to be really careful when you're putting them in the little, I don't know if you guys have seen where they have like the little pills where they pre-make and they put their lashes in there. You need to make sure that if you use that, it's really good to pre-make your fans ahead of time, because then you're all set up, right? You have your little containers where it has 70, 60, and you know what to grab when. You just need to remember that if you're going to use that method, that you're changing your tweezers when you're going to dip and grab more. Because if I'm lashing somebody and then I turn around with the same tweezer, grab to give myself more lashes, I just cross-contaminated. Because I'm using the same little pill socket where there's a whole bunch of lashes and I'm grabbing, contaminating the rest that I'm going to use for my next client. So you just want to make sure that you grab everything that you need, or have an extra pair of tweezers that just grab, that you can just switch, grab, and put, have them on there.
Retention is similar, or you think it's better with handmade?
I honestly recommend handmade. When you first start, yeah, you want to pre-make them so that you can get into the habit of doing it faster. Like what I used to do is, while I'm watching a movie, I would start making fans, and I would put up, right? But the idea is to really do it where you're fast and you're making them right there and then. Because when you're pre-making them, you're dipping them in adhesive. Then you're letting them dry. Then when you're going to use it on your client, you dip it again in adhesive. So it's more glue, more thick, right? Versus doing it when it's fresh and it wraps around better.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's, I'm not going to, there's people out there that already buy their fans already made from companies. I don't knock anyone, right? You do what you have to do. I mean, there's older clients who do not want to lay on a bed for 2-3 hours, right? But that's what's going to make you different, and that's what you're paying to go to school for, right? Is to do everything handmade and to have it fresh. So if you do it at the beginning, just to kind of get the gist of it, pre-making them, hey, great. But the idea is for you to do them on your own, fresh. How I call it, just fresh. Okay. So pre-made fans are created in a factory, bonded at the base with adhesive or heat. Easy to apply, more expensive for lash artists, same time, and less retention. What is that? That's what I'm trying to say, the other word. It's not pre-made.
Pro-made?
Pro-made. That's what I kept thinking about. The pro-made is where you make it handmade. Pre-made is when you buy them done. Okay, so when you buy them already like done like if you buy them from whoever, Lost Artistry or wherever you buy, if you buy them already done, that's when they're basically bonded at the base. Okay. So you'll most likely have less retention with that. So if you're going to put it in levels, it's going to be pre-mades as far as retention. Pre-mades would be the least, pro-mades, and then doing them right there and then.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was like a difference between pro-mades and pre-made.
There is, because when they're making them in a factory and they use a machine to do it. So there's like a little sticky that they do it with. It's not glue, but it's like a sticky, so it won't wrap as good.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so then you got the pro-mades, which is pro for professional. You're still doing them. You're just doing them ahead of time. It's just that when you do it, you have to, and another thing to circle back, use very little glue, you know.
You
Use
know, there's
a
another
little-
word too, crystallizing.
Yeah, and crystallizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes it's like, for me, it's better to explain things than to versus having the word, because they have names for everything now, even lash mapping. You'll see a cat eye, squirrel eye, and they're all pretty similar. Yeah, so you
Miss Cecilia, can you repeat that again, please? The different names, the three names.
yes, of course. So you're gonna have pre-mades, right? So those are the ones that you already buy made. Those are the fans that you already buy. Oh, like this here. Let me see if you guys can see. So these are pre-mades.
I can't.
Hold on.
Like P-R-E, made?
Yes.
Okay.
So these are pre-mades. So you're basically buying them already fanned out. Okay. Then you have pro-mades, which pro-mades are when you make them yourself ahead of time. So you're still making them and you're putting them like in little, you can look it up, YouTube it, because people store them differently, but the majority of the people put them in like those like little medicine pills, containers. And you just label them. So those basically, you're just making them ahead of time. And then you have just your regular, then you have your handmaids that you're doing fresh right there and then.
Handmade. Okay.
And
So-
the way that I said it, as far as pre-made, pro-made, and handmade, that's the level of, so you'll have more retention with handmade, you'll have a little less retention with pre-made, and then you'll have less retention with see, handmade, pro-made, and pre-made.
Okay. Thank you.
Did I confuse anybody?
No, I wrote it
You're
down.
welcome. I think someone else wanted to get in. Okay. And then you also have, so this PowerPoint right here is basically going to tell you about the easy fanning lashes. You also have easy fanning. They're sealed together on the lash tray, easy to fan, but often do not provide the same retention, will not wrap around the natural lash. Reason why is the easy fans, they look just like a regular tray of extensions of volume, right? But when you pull them out of the strip, they fan like butter. They fan on their own. The thing with those is same thing. What they're made out of at the base, it's not going to give a good retention because it's like, again, it's almost like a pre-made. It's like something sticky, gluey that's connected at the bottom. So when you dip it, it's not going to wrap around the same way. I don't knock it if you want to use easy fans just until you get the hang of doing your lashes on your own. Great. You just have to be mindful that if you do use easy fans first to try to lash and then you go back and use a regular one, you might get a little bit frustrated because you're like, oh my God, I was fanning so well and now all of a sudden I can't, because now you just went to regular handmade lashes. Okay. And you know, my main recommendation, don't use easy fans because you're in school and that gives you the time to learn how to do volume.
The bases are really bulky too.
They can be, when you pull them out, the bases will be thicker because of that sticky glue that it has. Yeah. And that's why they won't wrap and you'll have less retention with that.
So stay away.
Stay away from them. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, I've used them because you have to test everything out mostly as
Yeah.
being an instructor, and you're like, oh my God, this is so easy. I can lash, but you will get less retention. So it's not worth it. So let's see. This basically, so this kind of gives you an idea of how a lash extension should go wrapped around the natural lash. Okay.
It's beautiful.
You don't want to see on this one right here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's probably because it looks a little thicker. Yeah. And what you don't want to see is, let me see if because I know they probably can't see. What you don't want to see is the base lifted. Okay. That's one of the main things, is you don't want to see the base lifted at the very tip. So if you have the natural lash and you're putting the extension up like this, and you have this all pulled up, that's a big no-no. You want to make sure it's flushed with the natural lash, okay? So you can see here, this kind of gives you a demonstration on the no, how right here, it's kind of sticking out. Let me just make sure they can see me all. Hold on, ladies. This is the hard part because you got to keep toggling back and forth. So it's the same. Okay, so what you don't want to see is how it's lifted here, and you see how here it's flushed. So when I say flushed, it's just all against the natural lash. You don't want to see it lifted, because if any of it is lifted, bacteria can get behind there, or it won't have good retention. It'll fall off easy. Okay. So volume adhesives are thin in viscosity and have a fast dry time. They contain a higher concentration of cyanacrylate, should not be used for classic lashes. And you have to just be mindful of the amount that you're putting. Nowadays, most adhesives you can use it for both. Okay, most adhesive, they'll say on the bottle for classic and volume. You just have to be careful how much you grab, because you will grab less. Okay. So when you dip it in, you want to make sure that you're scooping a little bit, but you're not fully scooping. If you see that bubble on there, it's a no-no. Okay, you want to make sure you kind of you remove that bubble part, or do another fan. But nowadays, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Volume is a little bit thinner. Classic is a little thicker. Okay, because you're going to use a little bit less glue, so it's going to be thicker. So creating fans directly from the palette. These are the different methods that you can use when you're volume lashing. The one method that you don't want to use, and I know if any of you guys already lash, you're going to be like, oh, it's the pinching method. The pinching method, you see a lot of people doing that on YouTube or TikTok, whatever. But we train here at 3D Lash and Brow to not be doing the pinching method. When you're here on the floor, if we see you, we'll stop you. Reason why is because you're pinching, you're using your hands to pinch, and then you're putting it on the customer's eyes, on the client's eyes. So it's not sanitary. So you want to make sure that you're just either using the shimmy method, or I personally like to use the glue ring with the little prongs at the corner. Okay, because I'll dip it in the glue and then I'll slide it through the little prongs and it'll close the tip for me. That way, when you're doing a fan, the reason why people pinch is to close their base. This does it for you. Okay.
And then your hands start getting tired after you pinch for so long.
Yeah.
So I feel like this way it's easier for your hands.
Yeah, because then you got to go each time. Yeah.
My hands started cramping up. Have you heard of the flower bouquet method?
I haven't heard of that one.
So you basically have your glue, one of those tiles that have the holes.
Mm-hmm.
You shimmy and then you dip it, and it does the kind of pinching method, but it's so much easier.
The tile with the hose?
Yeah. Have you ever seen those tiles with the holes for the adhesive? I'm gonna look it up.
So it's kind of like having this glue ring, but in a tile.
Yeah. So everything's in front of you. It's right next to you, so you're able to isolate. You dip. You get your fans, and then you dip it in the adhesive lightly, and then it's like the flower bouquet. So I'll show you.
Yeah.
Because it's not on there, so that's why I
Yeah. No. Yeah. You can show me that one. And then let's see. Yeah, and then you don't want to use the pinching method. Okay. So we went over that. And again, this is going to be create fans and place on the sponge, create fans and place on the mannequin. So this would be what would be this week's practicals, practicing on the fans. My recommendation, if you haven't finished everything yet from the week 1, just try to get that done and then jump into the volume lashing. Okay. So what I'll do right now is I'll go through a quick demo. Hopefully my hands, I haven't lashed in months, guys, because I had surgery, and so I haven't lashed in months. So let's make sure. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I know last week, I think I talked to you guys about this. Let me back up. Last week I talked about how you can store your lashes, and this is going to give you an idea. This is what I was talking about when I said the photo boxes, the little photo things you could buy at Michael's. So you can basically store them like this. If you have already regular clients, you can probably just put your client's name, but this kind of gives you an idea. Classic D, Classic D. This one is, I found this one back here. So it's not my personal one, but you can put like volume 0.3, volume, or colored lashes if you're doing colored lashes. But this is what it kind of gives you an idea. Let me grab one with an actual tile in it. And then inside would be your tile. Okay. Your tile shouldn't look this messy though. This is just what we use here for examples and playing with it, but your tile shouldn't be that messy. But this kind of gives you an idea on how you can store your lashes. This is real convenient too if you're doing the travel lashing and you're going to go to people's houses. It's real convenient to have it like this, because then you can also put your glue rings here, tweezers. You could put them in here too. I have my tweezers that I drop and are broken. I put them in containers like this. Like that, I know that they're there. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea for that. So let me see, get everything ready to show you volume lashing. My ladies online, or anyone here, if you guys want to step out, get a drink, use the restroom, go ahead while I set up the doll. You're more than welcome. If not, it's okay. I'm so good with you, right? Because I want to make sure that they're able to see. Just come back like in 5 minutes. Don't take too long. You looking for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, please. I was going to tell you.
Bother me.
The flower bouquet.
I literally have videos saved on it because it's so good.
Okay. Let me see if my arthritis don't kick in. Stop, I'm not that old.
I was a dental assistant before, so like I feel like I'm bound to have all of that.
As long as you stretch, and I usually have to I put lotion on before I actually lash, and kind of, because if not. I'm sure different ones are different.
Let me just get my and my adhesive that I just bought. I haven't been brought. Be right back.
Mm-hmm. Where is the lash pad? I don't think we had one in. So cool. You guys have any questions on the volume lashing so far? Anything? I wish there was more tweezers here because they're going to kill me. These are broken.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you get the same retention from a handmade fan and a pre-made fan?
My recommendation, my honest opinion, I mean, no. Reason why is because you can if you're really careful, because when you're doing the pre-made, you have to make sure you don't put a lot of adhesive. If you put a lot of adhesive and you go back and you're going to start lashing your client and using those pre-mades and you add more adhesive, it's going to be a glump of adhesive. And so it's not going to really wrap around. So when you're doing pre-mades, you literally have to put like a little dot on it. I always tell all the ladies, if you pre-make them again ahead of time for now while you get the hang of it, great. But your ultimate goal is to make your lashes right there and there, fresh, you know,
Right.
handmade right there when your client's there, because you're paying for school. You're getting licensed. You know what I mean? So that's gonna,
Yes.
you're gonna be able to upsell yourself because you've taken the course to do volume lashing, and it's gonna stand you apart from everyone else.
Okay. But there is a way to wrap
Yes. Hold on.
the pre-made around the natural lash.
From my understanding that I know, it won't really wrap out because you're already putting adhesive. It's already, you already put adhesive and it's already hard on there. So when you put adhesive again,
Okay.
it's not gonna wrap on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So-
it does.
Yeah, because the glue has to be fresh. So when you dip it the first time to pre-make them, you're already closing the base technically. It's already sealed. So when you're
It's
gonna
already
dip it
bonded.
again, yeah, when you dip it again to put it on the client, the base is already sealed, so it's not gonna wrap. Does that make sense? Did I explain that good?
Yeah. No, you did. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
And she taps it a little, she dips it, she taps it, and then she's just, it's all like the tweezer work. So that's called the flower bouquet method.
But I thought the flower bouquet, wouldn't that be like a way, like all she's doing is,
Yeah, so she grabs her lashes, and then she just like dips it a little bit in the glue, and then she like taps it away, and then she just literally places it.
so it's the tray that really makes it the flower bouquet.
Mhm.
Oh. I thought it was an actual way that she was grabbing the lashes.
No, but
Oh.
I think it's all like a tweezer work, honestly. So you have to have like really good tweezers for that, like with a big sweet spot.
Got it.
And I want to try it.
Yeah, try it. Hey, with lashing, you have to soak in all the information and do what works best for you.
Right.
As long as you're taking care of the, the main thing is taking care of your client's lashes. Because if you don't, you're not gonna have a client. You
Lash.
need lashes. They need to have lashes. All right. So I hope everyone's back. Either way, they'll have some. Let me just get the doll ready. I need a, I don't know what they did with the tray. Yeah, you can move up closer if you want to see. Trying to find, they had a palette in here because I wanted the palette. Okay, don't do that. I really wish I had tweezers because I don't think, oh, here, we got it. Let me see. So let's talk a little bit about the tweezers real quick. So with the tweezers, you guys know you have the straight tweezers. Thank you for being patient. It's multitasking. I don't know them all by name, by memory, but I get confused with always still to this day which was the crane. I know the boot was because that's what I always use. Okay, and then that's the boot. This is most likely what you're going to be using for volume. Again, it just depends what you feel comfortable with. It's the same. So it's just you're just gonna have to play with your tweezers and see what you feel comfortable with. For isolation, you can either use this one, you can even use this for volume. This one would be for isolating, and then this one is that much the same. So most likely you guys all have gotten these 3 or 2 out of the 3 in your kits, okay? So when you pick up, remember you have to shake, 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 shake your glue. I feel like I'm gonna, like, when they start pumping you to put what is it, like a needle to give you IV? I feel like I'm doing that. Like I gotta get my blood. So. Don't judge me. It's been like 3 months since I've lashed.
You got it.
Let's see. So again, you can put the adhesive here, or you can use the glue ring, and I'll show you with the glue ring. Okay. Can you guys see pretty good? I think so. Let me get a little closer. You lash already, right?
Mhm.
Did you tell me that last time when I asked?
I don't remember.
Okay. So you want to isolate the same as you do with classic. Okay, just like that. So you're still going to isolate the same. And again, like I told you guys last week, always remember placement. When you're lashing, you don't want to be like this. You don't want to be on top of your client. You can use your pinky to give you support. Your pinky and this part of your wrist. Hold on. Let's see. You want to use your wrist, okay, to be able to control. When you grab the strip, you want to have your hands with 3 fingers. Oh, it's going to be so hard. Let me see. Let me back it up a little bit. You want to be able to hold with 3 fingers, just like that. Okay? And you'll end up, when you're playing with the tweezers, what makes you feel more comfortable. Some people do it with 2, but if you really want to, you know, protect your wrist and really have good movement, you want to use 3. But it's just, at the end of the day, going to depend on what you feel comfortable with. Okay? When you grab the extension, you want to grab it right in the middle. In the middle, a little lower in the middle. Can you see? One of the things about tweezers and playing with them is knowing their sweet spot. Each tweezers has a sweet spot, and it'll take you a minute to learn yours. Want to fan it out just like that. You just use the tip to fan it out. When you grab it hard, pull towards you. Oh, it's falling apart on me.
You want to try mine?
Which tweezers do you have?
I have the boot kind.
Is it this one or a different one?
They're from a different brand. They're a little sturdier. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am. See, tweezers make a difference. Grab it a little bit better. You want to lay it down. Just fan it out. You have one falling, just grab it. Pull it out. Pull it towards you. You see that? Now, if you see a little bit, if you can see there's a little hair out of place, it's okay. Because when you dip it in the adhesive, you can just close it out. And I'm just going in slow motion so you guys can see. You go like that. And you go isolate. You always want to isolate first, but I'm just trying to do it in slow motion so you guys can see. You see it? And then you're going to place it. Now remember, you have to place it where it's flushed. So you always have to play with your wrist. Hold it for a minute and release. So one of the main things, I think I mentioned that last week, that you want to invest in is tweezers. Okay, that's going to be that's going to be your bread and butter. Each tweezer has its own little sweet spot. So just like, as you can see, it was hard for me to do it with this one, but this one, it was easier for me to grab it. You just have to find whichever tweezer is going to be good for you. Okay, and when you find that right tweezer, you want to invest in it and probably buy 2 or 3 because you might drop one.
And that one was like $40.
Yeah, tweezers can be expensive. And again, you always have to see your sweet spot because it might be a little bit different. Now, another method, you see how I take it out and then I just lay it on the strip like that. And then I fan it out from there. Another method is to pull it out a little bit, just a little bit, and then you fan it out from right there. Okay. And then you pull it. So you just have to see what works good for you, okay? These are good tweezers. But don't judge mine, all right?
I'll get you some.
And then you just dip it in. It's okay. It's just for you, so you guys can see.
Do you think these 90-degree would work just as good for 0.7?
They might, maybe not, maybe
Not,
it
right?
can. I mean, I don't use those. My thing
Yeah.
is boots when I'm nashing.
I'll try it out.
The boot ones, but just try it out. Yeah. I let it see what happens when you let go too quick. It falls apart. You have to hold it for a little bit. I usually count 3 seconds. That'll give the glue enough time to dry. All right. Any questions?
Do you think it's too cold in here? That's why your adhesive? Or might that be it?
No.
It's just the dry time.
It's just, yeah, I just have to hold it in longer. No, it's not cold. I mean, you guys cold?
You're too fast.
No. No, I'm not cold, but any questions on that? Online ladies, any questions on that? Because I'll jack it. Any questions on that? It's pretty simple. It really is simple. It's just getting the habit of doing the fan. It takes time. It just takes time. I mean, I've been doing this for 2-3 years and I haven't done it in 3 months. And look, it takes time. Mine's, that one fell apart a little bit, you know. So you're gonna get some that come out real nice. You're gonna get some that, you know, are not so nice. Don't get frustrated when you're working on your practical assignments. Put it on there. When you're working on your sponges, I'm not looking for the fans to be symmetrical, perfect. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking that you gain the technique, the grasp of grabbing them and fanning them out. So you can use, did they give you this in your kit? What do you guys have in your kit? The crystals?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can work out of the crystals. If you guys want to try these, I'll hand some out to you guys. My ladies online, because you're not here in campus, if by any chance you need you can order some of the glue rings with the little prongs on it or the sticky dots. Some people use the sticky dots. So you just kind of have to play with it. And when you're out in the floor, you'll kind of observe some of the girls and the different things that they use. Okay? Because you'll learn from each other too. You have one here that's been lashing, so you may you'll learn from her too. All right. Any questions? No? I think that's pretty much it on that. Any questions on the practicals? Any questions at all? No? Ladies online, no? Let me see. I'm gonna look at this real quick just to see.
I'm not on my phone.
You can go on to Seema Chastity. I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't need to watch this again. I think she already left. I'm sorry.
They need my commitment form, so I'm gonna send it to them because they want me to start.
Yeah. Don't worry, you don't need to tell me. Oh, because you're on your phone.
Yeah.
You're like, oh. All right, ladies. That is it. If you don't have no questions, please email us or you can send a message right there on the group, and I'll upload the video in case you need to watch it later. Okay. Thank you.